Good day, my name is Stephen Lazar Property Network. Welcome to our website. In this video, I want to share with you SDA Property under the NDIS and explain it all to you so you get a fairly comprehensive insight into what it is and how it works and how you might benefit from securing an SDA property under the NDIS. This is an easy to follow summary of most things important when considering SDA property under the NDIS, covering off on what you'd want to know to determine what it is, how it works, and even if it may or may not suit your investment strategy for you. You'll gain insight when you complete the presentation and you'll have a far more detailed overview. Towards the end, we cover off on how the numbers may work for you and why investors are so interested in understanding and then securing an SDA property. Think about it. An investment grade SDA property has the propensity to allow you to take control of your own financial destiny and that of your next generation. This is so important. I'm going to repeat it for you because SDA property has the propensity to not only accelerate your financial planning goals, but allows you to take control of your own financial destinies and positively impact those of your next generations going forward. Let's move on to the disclaimer and then we go into the presentation for you. So this is a disclaimer because all information that we share with you in this video is for demonstration purposes only. And the numbers will change according to the property, the location, the disability category, and your own personal circumstances. If that's fair, let's move on. What is SDA property? Well, simply described, it is a purpose-built home that's in the suburbs, which look and feel just like the house next door, but with modifications to suit the disability category of the participants or your tenants. You want to attract and hold on to those participants and thus becoming their forever home and your successful investment. Meaning specialist disability accommodation is an initiative of the Australian federal government, which is a 20-year program promulgated into Australian federal law, which sits under what is already a highly beneficial and much needed successful NDIS program. When you build fit for purpose for both the NDIS and for the participant, your dwelling will receive a compliance certification which lasts for 20 years, and the rental income derived comes from the NDIS, which is linked to CPI for that same period. With a participant in place, your income is guaranteed. How good is that? What's the outlay to get into business and secure an SDA property? Well, firstly, you've got to recognize it, because we do, that it is accepted that due to the required modifications, these dwellings are more expensive to build than the new build residential property next door, easily 100 to 150k more. So if you're putting your hand up to build fit for purpose in a suitable location and on a generous floor plan, the government will throw ridiculous rent your way. And as long as you have a participant, you're guaranteed this rental income. Or if your participant leaves during tenancy, you will still receive up to 60 days of guaranteed income whilst you're looking to replace that participant. And when one considers the total investment, which is the land and the build, and let's say that's in Queensland or WA, and the total is around 750k to 800k, the income you could achieve could be between 103,000 up to 112,000 per annum linked to CPI. This is a total value of around 12.8 to 14.9% yield, and of course could be lower or higher depending on the construction costs and your situation and the rent you're going to get. If you compare that to the house next door for a similar value, who's only getting between 3 and 4.5% yield, a yield of up to 14.9% is magnificent. Yeah, cool. So why the SDA initiative? Currently, the system is broken. Tragically, participants are in the wrong type of accommodations, from hospital beds, kids in nursing homes, old tied unsuited legacy stock, or even living with aging parents who are unable to offer the care that is required. The government recognizes this ever-growing desperate situation and are themselves unable to cope with or provide sufficient accommodations for people with disability. It is a dire situation. Thus, the SDA program was set up, incentivizing investors such as yourself to put your hand up and build fit-for-purpose homes to comfortably accommodate participants with disability. And in return, you will be well rewarded. What is the demand for SDA property? It's something we often get asked. Well, the NDIS currently have around 502,000 members, with more people with disability joining, and unfortunately, newly disabled people also joining daily. Sadly, it is a growth industry. Currently, it is estimated that just over 6% of these participants are eligible for SDA funding to be your participant. And as at the 31st of December 2021, there were only 6,764 enrolled dwellings in total. Yet 4,320 are old legacy stock, which is unsuited today. It is unsuited in today's requirements under the NDIS, and they're going to stop funding them. That means 4,320 homes will close, and those participants need somewhere to live. There are a mere around about 5,760 new builds in the pipeline currently, and yet the current demand is around 30,647 eligible participants, leaving a serious shortfall of accommodation needed by current participants. Yet in a mere short 9 years, this demand will grow to around 52,500 eligible participants, meaning investors will need to put their hands up and build an astounding number of new places to accommodate these participants. So is there demand? Oh yes, there is. Who finds participants and who manages the home? Well, a licensed SDA provider who should also own a real estate license and also have an SDA provider license under the NDIS will source participants for you and manage your property, whilst ensuring you receive the income from the NDIS. This SDA provider who plays a rental or manager should have a strong relationship with care provider groups who are currently looking after people with disability. And having these strong relationships means that they will reach out to this database on your behalf, advising them of the new build that's coming onto the market. The care provider will then look to recommend a participant to suit and ensure that the SDA package is being applied for or updated, and that that participant could be lined up to take up the accommodation once completed. Please be mindful when sales marketing groups out there are telling you they already have a participant lined up for your property, because we know people die, people get sick, people move, and they might even take up accommodation elsewhere before your property is complete. So there's no guarantee that that particular individual is lined up for your property, which is going to build in 6, 8, 9 months or a year. Now, a question we ask, is this sustainable? And we say, oh, hell yes. We've been told that currently to accommodate one person on a low level of disability in the current system costs government and taxpayers around $300,000 per annum on low care, right up to about 1.9 million per annum on high care. And when you put your hand up and accommodate this person in your SDA home, you get remunerated around $50,000 per annum for doing so. You will save the government and taxpayer around $250,000 to $950,000, give or take. Man, even if that was only $150,000, this is highly sustainable business model. Will the government stop paying me? How? This is a 20-year program promulgated into Australian federal law with a budget of $700 million per year. Sure, if there is sufficient supply in a few years' time, you can they can turn around and say to you, yes, no more new ones for now, thank you very much. Also, if they did stop, could they backdate the decision? And if they did, we know that they will be breaking federal law. But more importantly, where will the thousands of participants in SDA accommodations move to? Because if you're not getting your funding, you're going to rent it out somewhere else, right? Where will they move to? So based on this, based on it being a highly sustainable business model, and the fact that 700 million is budgeted to this program annually, in your opinion, do you really believe that they can stop paying you? Because if your answer is yes, then you're not ready for this investment. And this investment is 100% not suited to you. Does SDA property investment suit me? Well, SDA property we know does not suit the vast majority of people who inquire because they're attracted to the very high yields. Because investing in an SDA property requires making a challenged decision which sits outside of your current comfort zone. When you compare it to other investment decisions that sit within your comfort zone, it sits outside of it. The build is more expensive, which you have to accept. You also have to accept that there's demand, yet there's no accurate demand database that anyone can show you. The location is not going to be where you traditionally invest in either. This is primarily a yield play, and any capital growth you achieve needs to be seen as a bonus. If you bring any emotion into this decision making, then this is definitely not for you, based on what I've just shared and more. Emotion. What we do know is that emotion brought into any investment decision will guarantee you a low return on your investment, but only 100% of the time. Making a comfortable decision will continue to give you the same results that you always keep getting. Whereas making an informed decision and a challenged decision up here, which sits outside of your current zone, will give you improved results compared to making a comfortable decision. You keep getting the same results. What do you want? If you need to feel and touch the investment and invest where you live, this too is emotion and is not for you. Ask yourself, where is your super invested, and do you drive past all the companies and check if their doors are open and where they're located? And if not, why not? So why does a property have to have that emotion and be where you live? It does not. Match the investment vehicle to the purpose for your investment and the results that you do want to achieve. What to be aware of. Very important, because the purpose of SDA property under the NDIS is to give fellow human beings just like us, except they suffer a disability, a choice of how and where to live so that they, like us, can thrive. A sad indictment is whenever our government launches a program which it funds, it attracts unscrupulous suppliers who want to take a large slice of the coffers for themselves. What we're seeing is 80% of what we're seeing being offered out there by sales and marketing companies are appealing to your greed, demonstrating very high yields on paper based on a lower entry into the market price or an unsuited location, and fear of missing out. It is the last one in that location, you better get in quickly. So investors who are attracted to these high yields on paper tend to sign contracts willingly, because greed is a very powerful emotion, and we just spoke about emotions. What you want to avoid. When you get to know what it is that you don't know, you can make a far more informed investment decision, yeah? So let's see what you want to avoid. Avoid cheap land that sits outside of regional CBDs, which are devoid of required infrastructure to support the lifestyle of someone with disability, because neither their family members nor their carers want your participant 15 or 20 minutes outside of the CBD, because it's just not practical and it's not feasible. Also avoid inferior floor plans to ensure cheaper builds at the expense of the participant, because they need space and they need privacy in their what you want to be their forever new home. Things are fantastic on paper dollar-wise, yet to live there, it's unsuitable. Family members and carers, when they walk in, will soon realize you, the investor, have been duped, as the accommodations are built to bare bone minimum requirements and in unsuited locations. You also want to avoid a rental guarantee, because rental guarantees suit the person giving the guarantee, not you. They'll keep 60 to 70% of the income and any CPI increases, and they tie you in for that period of time, which could be 7, 8 or 10 years. If they're that confident that they're going to get participants in your property, that they're going to give you a guarantee, why aren't you confident that you're going to get the same participants? Avoid rental guarantees. You also want to avoid lengthy head lease agreements. They're punitive. They only suit the rental manager. They do not suit you. You'll see 5 years or 5x5 or 10-year head lease agreements, even 7 years. You cannot get out of these contracts. There's no backdoor exit clauses. If there are, and you can get out within a year, or after a year, that's fantastic. Maybe look to sign one. But do not sign a long head lease agreement. They do not favor you. They only favor the rental manager. I don't know if you realize, but when you do sign it away, you're actually signing away the rights to your property for that period of time. You can't sell it, you can't change management, you can't do anything. So what to be mindful of? This is your dilemma. Greed is a strong emotion, and the yields are incredibly inviting. Yet we know that greed is short-term only, meaning rather build fit for purpose for the participant, for their family, the care providers, and the purpose of the NDIS. You will attract a participant sooner, and you'll hold on to them that much longer. Fact: one can only offer a cheaper SDA package by getting cheaper land or offering a cheaper build. Our due diligence demonstrates that these lots are unsuited to the purpose of the NDIS and thus your participants' living needs. We all know that the cheaper builds means cutting corners, unsuitable floor plans, bare bone minimum specs just to meet compliance. So let the buyer beware. There is no other way to put a cheaper package in front of you so the yields look that good than to cut corners. Yes or yes? Thank you. How do the numbers work? Well, maybe we can ask you, how will another $100,000 per year in your pocket positively impact your life? Because this investment can be kept for 20 years, can be kept for longer or shorter. Think about it. Within 16 months or so, you've gotten back your original deposit if you've put down a 20% deposit. Yes or yes? Meaning, after that, you now own a risk mitigated cash cow for free, which I put in inverted commas. Can you also comprehend the power of compounding the cash flow linked to only 1.5% CPI, and CPI currently is about 5%, they've just announced. But if we just look at 1.5% CPI over 20 years, this means your initial $150,000 invested could generate you an astounding $2.7 million over 20 years. How will that change your life? Because this project, I get excited by this, and it's thrown me a little bit, but Now, project your life a short 20 years forward, and you can have an extra $2.7 million in your account. How will this positively change your life if you had that kind of money? We know it will certainly change the life of someone with disability for the better when you do invest. We also know that it is available to you. If you're able to rise above your current comfort zone, allow us to educate you further on SDA Property and the numbers pertinent to your particular situation, so that you can make that important and informed investment decision to change your life. What is also evident is how you then choose to reinvest the income from your investment. This is where you'll maximize your return on your investment. SDA Property under the NDIS is your starting point on your financial journey towards taking control of your own financial destiny. Why not put your hand up? In fact, put your hand up. Let's look at the numbers if we really simplify it. So if I may offer you a very simplistic helicopter view of how the numbers can work, just for demonstration purposes only. If the SDA property being built is to accommodate 2 high physical support participants, and the total package is, say, $750,000, your income could be up to $112,000 per annum. And so your yield on this 750 could be 14.9%. Yes? Good. Assuming you only put down now just a 20% deposit and you leverage the rest, you borrow the rest. Now, the only dollars you've really invested is this $150,000. We agree? Because that's all you've put down, that's all you've invested. You might have borrowed, but you didn't put that down. You've only put the deposit. So what is your yield on what you've invested based on the 112 income? And that could be 74% gross. Remember, it's what you're going to do with this income. This is where you're going to maximize your return on investment. How you reinvest it is where you're going to grow your wealth substantially. So putting down $150,000, giving you the chance to get $2.7 million in 20 years time, just from the income, that's not from reinvesting. Is that good, or is that good? This is a complex investment. It doesn't suit everybody. Be mindful of that. And let's discuss the numbers. Yes, I am talking about the excitement and the greed, but it's also the logic. And when you find the right investment grade SDA property, you're putting yourself in that far improved position to gain this kind of return on your investment. So the question is, will the banks lend me the money? Can I get a loan? And we say, sure you can, so long as your personal balance sheet is in order, just like it needs to be when applying for another property for investment or to live in. Except only a handful of banks will lend for SDA property, and it does make sense to use a broker who has vast experience in the space. We can refer you to one because your bank will not lend for this. Another advantage is that your borrowing capacity will increase significantly as the banks who do lend take up to 80% of the NDIS income into consideration when looking how much they'll lend you. So you can borrow a lot more through an SDA property than a standard residential property. And lastly, another major benefit, even though it is more expensive to build than the home next door, this broker gets valuations through right on the dollar, meaning there's no shortfall requiring you to put in a higher deposit. That's an excellent benefit when you use a broker who knows and understands SDA property and loans. Why is an SDA property investment risk mitigated? Well, to summarize, there's bipartisan support from both major parties in government, and it's promulgated into Australian federal law as a 20-year program, When you receive your compliance certificate, your 20 years begins. Linked to CPI, you get annual increases on your income. And when you have a tenant in place, your rent is guaranteed from the NDIS. If a tenant leaves, you get up to 60 days of income from the NDIS. Demand, unfortunately, will continue to grow as more people become disabled, as more people find out about the opportunity, as more people join the NDIS, and as more participants find out about SDA and join specialist disability accommodation and apply for their packages. So, questions you may have. Our role is to ensure that we educate you so that you can make an informed investment decision. Because when you don't know what it is that you don't even know you don't know, how can you make this decision in life? My background includes 15 years financial planning. I gave that up because the products just didn't suit my client base. I've always owned and invested in property myself, and for the past 16 years have been helping my clients build wealth through astute investment decisions into investment grade property. And we added SDA Property to our mix, to our portfolio, around about 18 months ago, when private investors like yourself started showing an interest in it. We've been doing property for many years, and we've got a lot of experience and wealth of knowledge around property and around SDA also now. So our guarantee to you is to share this knowledge, skills, and time and industry contacts with you. What we will do is we'll save you time. We'll help you make an informed investment decision for the purpose of you making a lot more money from your investment. Your role is to ask us questions, to be open to being challenged, and to challenge us in return. All we ask that in kind for doing this is that you do reply to our communications. And if that's a reasonable request, we can move to the next step. So if yes, either make direct contact with us or share your contact details so we can contact you and set up an online meeting or a telephone meeting. We do not work by email. It's not conducive. We prefer to get to know each other. When I know where you are, where you want to be, we'll help you build that bridge to get you there more astutely, quicker, for the purpose of saving you, of making you more money. So we take your investment very, very seriously. And if you take your investment as serious as we do, you'd want to share that via telephone call or an online meeting. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope I've provided you with a reasonable overview in the last 28 minutes and giving you more information of which you can then further your due diligence, come back to us. We will help understand what you want, your budget. We'll match it to a location. We'll find the block of land for you. We'll design the build. We'll have the property built. During construction, we'll introduce you to the SDA provider who will reach out to their contacts to attract participants to fill your home once it's completed, offering you an end-to-end solution from beginning right through to where you get your ongoing payments directly from the NDIS. If that's what you're after, if a one-stop service is what you're wanting and you want to deal with professionals who really are passionate about this and who really care, reach out to us. Share what you've seen, ask a lot of questions, have fun with it till you're ready. Stephen Lazar signing off. Thank you very much for your time.